Hey everybody, it is Monday morning, Friday morning. God, I'm already getting this week over with. That's pretty scary. I've got a lot to do to be trying to force this. Yeah, Stephanie, that's a great comment that it's a case of the Mondays. Yeah, it's a case of the Mondays where I'm trying to force it to be Fridays. So, hello Irene, how are you doing over there in Japan? We are Footprints Forward. My name is Zach Clayton. I am the founder and president of Community Pay It Forward, Community Dare to Care, and the PAC channel. Look at that. I know it's Tuesday for you guys. My son is there in Japan, so it's a holiday for you guys, huh? Maybe I can call him later and bug him. So, but anyway, we are here to talk about mental illness and the struggles people have in suicide. We're going to be getting with our guest, Sarah Kuko, who's joining us for a second straight week. We loved her so much last week that we wanted to bring her back in. So, but to introduce ourselves, first off, we're going to be bringing in one of my favorite people in the world, and that's Miss Stephanie Simoes, the goddess of the grape.
Oh, thank you, Zach. I'm happy to be here. Really excited to hear from Sarah, and I'm glad I am put today so I can really participate. Hi, everybody. My name is Stephanie Simoes. I work with nonprofit organizations and people year-round to assist with fundraising through One Hope Wine. We are a cause-centered winery out of Napa Valley with over $9.7 million donated to date. We're approaching that $10 million mark. That's going to be really exciting to announce. So what I do is I specialize in fundraising, gifting, private wine events, and wine delivery. And when you pour a glass of One Hope wine or send a gift, it's a really great feeling to know that every single bottle has made an impact for a nonprofit that's important to you. So yes, you get to choose. Zach and I run a monthly show highlighting smaller nonprofit organizations to help them fundraise, but most importantly, to get their mission out there to more people. Tune in on Wednesday because your guy right there on the screen, Patrick, is going to be joining us for our mid-month show. Really excited to get back to that conversation. And I'm also the co-founder of P&S Properties. We're a family-run business that's working to curb the homelessness crisis in our veteran communities. We work with HUD-VASH recipients on housing, and we're working to build veteran communities and housing while providing support and resources. So this mission is really important to me because the last few years working in the nonprofit space, I've learned a lot about where our systems are really lacking in support. So I love that we're able to provide education and resources for those needing assistance and to help bring the number of losses really in the other direction. So I wear a lot of hats. You can find me on my Linktree on all different socials and connect with me there.
Well, thank you very much, Stephanie. Yes, and I also want to say hello to everyone that is joining us on our linked sites. I know that our guests, Sarah and Patrick and Stephanie, have all linked us to their social media outlets. So hi there. We're love having you, and we'd love to have you every Monday at this time as we try to offer solutions to everyone's problem because not everyone heals the same. Patrick, my friend, we're going to be talking to you on Wednesday, but let's hear from you right now.
Patrick Myers, and man, I have an echo.
I think it might be because you're on twice for some reason. See, I can pull you up. Look at this.
Oh, okay. I might have to. How do I get off of that?
You're a good looking
right now.
you're a good looking guy, man. But I don't need you on there twice. Z and I would have to hide.
My clone talking back to me over here. I'm gonna jump off and then try to jump back on.
All right, that's perfect. So Z, why don't you go on ahead and take up the mantle real quick and tell us all about Z and Z World Webs.
Of course, brother man. Thank you for having me here, and always great to see the goddess of the grapes. And what's better than seeing Patrick is seeing two Patricks, and of course, soon enough, Sarah. So, with that being said, my name is Z, or you can call me Mr. Z. I am a web developer, and I am also a consultant that specializes in helping nonprofits, veteran business owners, and entrepreneurs like yourselves who are looking to announce upcoming events, book online appointments, or accept donations and sell products and services without the use of eBay or Jeff Bezos. Sorry. I also provide a free consultation to those who are looking to get started on their brand new website and to those that have an existing website, but they're not comfortable with the idea of touching the back end of their website, whether it's WordPress, Squarespace, Wix, or more. I also want to mention that I do have a referral program known as Z Referral Program, and that is if you refer me to a nonprofit, ideally, or an individual that's looking to modify, develop, maintain, or redevelop a custom website, you are entitled to compensation once they become a paying client of $150. But if you're not comfortable with the idea of accepting payment, I'll just donate $150 to the Community Pay It Forward or a nonprofit of your choice. So, with that being said, if you are looking to modify, develop, redevelop, or maintain a custom website that is specifically catered to your needs, well, let's develop a website the world is waiting for. Back to you, brother.
Thank you very much. How are we doing, Patrick? Are we a little bit better now?
Yes, I think I'm even streaming. I think I am.
It looks like it.
Okay.
There we go. So you're
I'm
up.
figuring out
Give
new
us an
technology
introduction.
and stuff, man. All right. So my name is Patrick Myers. I'm the founder of Call Ish Global, which we have several different programs running from out of that. And the first one is Consuming Fire Media, which is where we do the Men's Pit podcast and an upcoming project called Voices in the Fire, where people will be able to tell their testimonies through this podcast. The Pit Men's podcast is um, it's a podcast where we are just men talking about the issues of today and how to navigate them and how to walk with God during the process of still becoming the men that God's calling us to be. And so that's the Men Fit podcast. It's pretty raw. There's no pretense with this thing, and so we just get straight to it and work our stuff out between us and God. Voice in the Fire, that's coming up pretty soon. So I'm pretty sure most of you guys are going to be on this podcast, Voice in the Fire. I'll be inviting you guys to that and just pretty much telling your stories on how God got you through certain crazy events in your life or just, whatever it is that you want to talk about that where you've came through a fire and God's delivered you. And I also do the Youth Initiative, and that is a program that has launched. We're at week 4 now, just last night, and this is where teens get to come to a place where we give them the tools for them to become what it is that God's calling them to be. Anywhere between, when you're a teenager, 16 through um, um, 20, you are able to do so many different things. And a lot of times in this society, um, we don't empower our teens to be able to do those things. And so all I do is I give them the tools and then set them loose.
No.
Like for ourselves and people around us, try to get the community to get behind them, to let them do the things that they're called to do. And
That's great. And we're going to hear more about the Youth Initiative on Wednesday night right here on the PAC channel starting at 7 o'clock Eastern. So we definitely invite you guys to join us all. Our guest, speaking of Into the Fire, is sitting in a very heated area, like a lot of the United States. And by the way, from all of us, we want to talk to you and say, you know what, please stay safe out there. Stay indoors when you can. A lot of America is just burning hot right now, and do whatever you can do to keep yourself cool. Right now is exactly what I was talking about, what I've always talked about, that, you know what, if you have extra clothing that's a little bit lighter weight, that's going to cover skin, this is where, if it's not doing you any good, let's get it to people who need it, because the sun exposure can really hurt people. It doesn't matter if they're black, white, yellow, Christian, Buddhist, Muslim, it doesn't matter. They're human beings. Right now, let's make sure that we're taking care of each other. Carry around an extra bottle of water in your car. Give it to somebody who's struggling, because this is serious stuff. There are people dying from this heat. So let's make sure that we are taking care of each other, okay? But right now, let's bring on our guest. This is your second week in a row, Sarah. And that's because last week you touched so many different subjects that people were like going, we need to know more. And I think that let's unzip those jeans, I think that had a little something to do with it too. But but yeah, I know that Stephanie definitely wanted to be on here to where she could talk to you a little bit closer. So why don't you go on ahead and for those who did not have the privilege of joining us last week, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Okay, well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for having me back again. As you were mentioning, being in a very hot location and a broken air conditioner, and I believe that my text just showed up. So I'm like watching this truck drive by going, oh, not now. But I may have to leave for just a moment, but I will be right back. So I am Sarah Cuoco. I live in Western Colorado with my husband and my 2 senior dogs. I have been involved in the field of nutrigenomics, which is genetics and nutrition combined, for going on 5 years now. I have experienced not only a lot of health benefits myself, but that of others. Had great conversations last week. Stephanie, I'm so glad you're able to be here and not traveling, although I understand completely, life has things that happen. So I'm looking forward to being able to answer some more questions, and I do have to step away for just a moment. They just rang the doorbell. So
All right.
back. And Z, I look forward to hearing from you today too. Give me just a moment.
That's fine. Okay. Hey, while we are waiting, one of the people who is usually on this show helping us out, he sent us an email, and we wanted to make sure that we let everyone know about this. Dennis Schroeder writes these wonderful books in memory of people who have served this country. Well, they need help getting these books out and explaining who these individuals are in a deeper meaning. They're looking to raise $2,000, and they're well on their way. Look at that number. That's awesome. Congratulations and good job to everybody who's already donated. You can donate as little as, if you look on here, there's a person who donated $5. Okay. This isn't something that they're asking you to donate your life away. This is just something to really, really help them out. And Dennis is so important to our show that we wanted to make sure that that we got this out. And we beg you to please help us out by donating to Dennis. Just go to GoFundMe and help us fulfill a promise to a Gold Star family. So if you want to know more about the story of Alfonso Amos, please join us next week and you can hear Dennis talk about it a little bit further. But if you got an extra $5 and you can donate to a great cause, please help out Dennis. So, hey guys, we just got something that I think is very, and look, Irene is great to us. And look at this right now. This is in Tokyo. Okay. 90 degrees in Tokyo, and I think 90 degrees in Tokyo would be about 170 here in Colorado. You know, I say to everyone, my son is in Japan's, or he's in southern Japan, but this is something that's interesting to me. Japan has a huge culture of suicide. They've got a park where kids go and commit suicide all the time. Irene works to try to help. Irene is in the spiritual field. She's probably joining us right now on one of the Things Network channels. But you know, she's become a fan of things that we do because of what we do. But she's talking about this where here it is. It's the I'm not even going to try to say the name of it, but yeah, it's a forest where people will go in for a walk and they'll just come across somebody who left their mortal coil the night before, and it's a terrible thing. I know it's something that when my son gets depressed, I get very, very nervous about. So over there. She's talking about how her daughter, the problems that they had with somebody stopping in front of a train. And it's just, this is kind of the reason why we're here, guys, right? Stephanie?
This is the first I'm hearing about any of this. So that I'm
yeah,
learning.
She just let us know. So
yeah. Wow, Irene, I'm sorry to hear that that's going on by you. I'm trying to read at the same time here. I don't multitask well. Only one train coming. Okay. Yeah, no, that's scary. It's scary. And when your kids are out in the world, experiencing these things too, it's scary. And like Zach, you just mentioned, your son's over there too. There's a distance apart from you guys also. Check in on the people you love.
Yeah.
Keep tabs on them. No matter how far they are from you.
Yeah. Well, this is what I was talking about at the paranormal, is that Irene's going to go and do a paranormal investigation there in that park. It is in the paranormal world, it is said to be very, very active. So, Patrick, your love interest is over close to that side of the world. They're not right there, but they're over in that area. What are things like? Has she said anything about people who try to commit suicide and stuff over there? The suicide problem there?
You're talking about in Singapore and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Yes. So I deal with I have several people that live in that I know in Singapore, and then other people that I know that live in the Philippines. And it is. She was telling me how in Singapore you have kids jumping from buildings and stuff like that. And I know in the Philippines, like there's just a lot of stuff going on there, and it's a pretty rampant thing there too. And it's and I've heard of Japan. I know Japan has a really bad issue with that going on too. And I breathe. I wouldn't want to say like just Asian countries. I think it's just this new thing. No, I wouldn't say new thing, but it is this darkness that is like encroaching the world right now, where you're seeing this happen on such high levels everywhere. Um, and especially just like it seems to be like your more advanced communities more than anything, um, where they have a lot of access to social media, Facebook, and or not social, just social media, period. That's where you see a lot of this like just ramping up on levels that don't make sense. And I was just I had again this week I dealt with um, two people that were that were suicidal.
Hmm.
Last week, I had one right before the show that was talking to me, and so um, I don't even know how you begin to tackle that situation. To be really honest, man, it's not even a laughing matter. It's just like when you're thinking about it, like it's such a tall order, and um, y'all know my position. I'm never going to apologize for it, really, but I just believe that once you know who your God is and who Jesus is and your identity in Him, um, coming from a man that took his life and stuff like that, just that was the game changer. It wasn't my purpose. It wasn't all this other things. It was actually knowing what God thought of what He thinks of me, and then it changed my whole view as a man on like um if I know who my creator is and what he thinks of me, it doesn't really matter what anybody else on this planet ever will think of me, including myself. Like I even have to check the things I say against myself, against what the things that God says. And when I understand those two things, um, a lot of times, as soon as that depression comes online, those thoughts come in, and then I'm like, wait, this is what you say, God? And he's like, nah, that's not my words, And then I'm just like, oh, okay, like let me stop being dumb and go on about my business. It's something I've never had before until I started to see things in that way. And the more I'm dealing with people, and the more like I deal with people, a lot of people on a weekly basis, and um, this is not a religion push or anything like that, but I've seen significant, uh, very successful and significant change when people understood those things, as opposed to when you just have good things or therapy and stuff like that. It's like when people know, like, okay, I was created with intent. I was created with love. I was created um um with this purpose beyond like the imagining that I have. Um, and this is the truth. No matter what the world tries to take from you, um, that is that is what I see is the issue. A lot of it's just identity and lack of it, and also your identity being informed by people that don't have any interest in your life, really, truly.
Well, I'm going to tell you, you said that you don't know exactly how to go about it, but you did exactly the right thing by talking about it because, you can't leave somebody who's thinking about committing, ending their life. You can't just leave them alone and think they're going to work it out. Look, the numbers are against that.
Yes.
And there's a possibility they might not succeed in it happening, but they're going to try. So the numbers are very, very clear. Mr. Z, what are your thoughts? What on this, and then Sarah has rejoined us, so we'll be bringing her back on in a second. But she told me not to rush because this is very important as well.
Of course, a lot of great things being said here by yourself, Steph, and of course, Patrick. Just if you have someone to talk to, don't be afraid to reach out if you feel lonely. I'm not saying that you should keep it inside, but there are certain things that should be confined between people that you trust. And I'm not here to give advice, but what I mean is, my thoughts are there are a lot of people out there that could use a lending ear, and we're here for you if you ever want to talk. And that includes veterans and people who are working in corporate. From my experience of working with corporate, HR is not your friend. They're there just for the company, and that's it. And there are some days where you just feel like you want to give up, and some days you feel like you're hopeless. But always remember that there are people out there that care about you. And before you make the regrettable decision of doing the unthinkable, just remember those that you're going to leave behind because they're going to miss you most when you're gone. But it's never the answer. It's never a solution, not even an option, if you ask me. And it's very unfortunate. There's a lot of people in certain certain cultures that believe in, well, you're not supposed to express your emotions. That's not a sign of strength. It's a sign of weakness. And I disagree with that statement 100%. We're all humans and we want to be a part of a community that's like yours, Zach. And it's really about finding one's goals and helping others reach those goals without having to feel alone, and reinvigorating our sense of hope and accomplishment, and more importantly, helping people get closer to where they need to be in life. I think the expression goes, you can go faster alone, but you can go farther with other people. And I'll leave it there.
I love that. And you know what? You made a great point, and that was
Thanks.
brought up by our dear friend a couple weeks ago. How when she was telling us that her family was telling her, "Look, there's what you want to do, and you got pregnant at a young age, so here's what you're going to do."
Mm.
And I think that when she it ruined her life for a long time, and for her to be able to come back in and tell everybody that, hey, you know what, no, if that's the way that you're going to try to force me to be a round peg in a square hole, it's not going to work. So that was just that was really exactly what you said. Sarah, you were just listening to what we were talking about. And yeah, you're coming in more of a, mental health. Your products are going to help us, or your program's going to help us mental health. But this is a suicide issue. And this is what we really are trying to do with this show, is try to find different ways for people to have a relationship with themselves to where they're not wanting to commit suicide, because, as he just said, people may think you're not going to be missed, but damn it, there's somebody out there that's going to miss you, regardless of how much of a jerk you are at times. People are still going to miss you.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Yeah, I'm glad I was off camera for part of that, because I get pretty choked up about it too. And I agree with what Z said. I read one time that there's been studies done that most people that attempt suicide, if they fail, they're asked, what were you going to do next? And the majority of the time they have an answer. And that's really powerful, because it says that a lot of people who are contemplating suicide it's because of the frame of mind they're in, don't understand it. It's final. This isn't something you just like slam a door and then say, okay, I'm better now, I can go on with, it's like, it's not that. And I thought that was pretty eye-opening, and really speaks to how our frame of mind affects our perception of everything going on around us.
Well, then, I mean, we've been told multiple times by multiple people that, you know what, you quite often hear the words, well, I can tell if somebody's thinking this way. Not all the time, you can't. Look, there are telltale signs. Mm-hmm. If somebody starts giving away everything that means anything to them, these people are thinking about the end of life. It really came to realization with me when my mom started giving away stuff, but she's getting older in life. That wasn't about that wasn't about her trying to end her life. That's something that happens when you know that your life is coming to an end.
Right.
So if you got a 21-year-old that's starting to give away everything that they feel important, there's a red flag. But right. That doesn't mean that every red flag is going to show. So, Anthony Lewis, first off, Anthony, thank you for joining us. There are people who rejoice in other people dying. It's sad. Yeah. And you just gave me goosebumps by saying that, because it is true. There are people out there who, look, misery loves company. And people being miserable love to make their misery show on other people. Mm-hmm. So, but
you can wallow in it, but
so, all right. Well, I think that Irene, I want to thank you very much for bringing up this very important topic, and we will get back to this, but we do need to let Sarah get back into what she's doing, um, uh, and talk a little bit more about her genetic program. So, Sarah, why don't you go ahead and continue now that you got the people who are trying to make your life more comfortable?
Yes, and they're working, and I put a sticky note on the door with my husband's phone number.
Yeah.
It's like, call him. I'm busy. Just make it work.
Yeah.
But actually, I was, and I mean, I'm glad that this was brought up. But and I know this is the focus of your organization and this group. But also, it really ties back to what I was talking about last week about there are genes. And again, we all have the same genes, but they don't all function the same. There are genes that affect our perception of the world and how we respond to it. And there's one of them in particular, the COMT gene. I talked about the warrior versus worrier gene. That's what it's often called. And how that can lead to addiction issues. It can lead to a lot of different things with our mental health. I'm not Patrick.
Well, I know. You are Sarah, though.
I am Sarah. Pardon me. So
your heat is getting to me already. So.
Well, I'm like the breeze is dying down. It's like no.
Not yet.
But anyway, so there is a connection. There's a connection between how we are internally wired, and it obviously there are environmental factors. There can be things going on in our lives or things that have happened in our lives. I don't know too many people that have gotten very far in life unscathed on some level, myself included. But our ability to handle those stressors has a lot to do with our support systems, the people that we have in our lives, the people we reach out to, our ability to reach out to. A lot of people, like you're saying, aren't comfortable reaching out to others. But there is also a genetic component. And that is one of the areas that we do look at. Because of the COMT gene, there's also other genes that we test for that talk about that are focused on our dopamine and serotonin, or dopamine, yes, and serotonin receptors, which of course affect how happy we can be at things, how whether things excite us or not. And like I said last week, the COMT gene, if you're a warrior in that, you would have a tendency to not experience those things that give us the dopamine hits very fully. That type of person tends to blow through those experiences, and so they have to constantly be doing whatever it was that's giving them that dopamine hit, and that can be a good thing, and it can be a really bad thing. And it could be food, it could be drugs, it could be alcohol, it could be work, it could be running, it could be anything, whatever gives that person, that dopamine hit. So this actually all does tie together. And of course, one of the things we do is we're looking for those variants, we're looking for those genetic markers related to health, which mental health is definitely a component in here. And then we are able to combine the genetic information with nutritional research information and studies and formulate a custom supplement based on an individual's genetic markers. And I do want to preface that. I know you all were here and heard this, but having a genetic marker doesn't mean you're going to have an issue with that. It means you are more predisposed. And so the whole intent here is either to help avoid or help support our body in those areas, like I said, to either avoid it or maybe to help correct it if it's already happening.
Stephanie, and this is, you unfortunately were on the road and you weren't able to comment a lot. You have a very, very personal relationship with genetics and stuff. I know that you had a couple questions that you had for Sarah, so I wanted you to get the chance to go on ahead and make mention of what you're dealing with and see how you two can help each other.
Yeah, well, I'm really excited because I do believe Sarah and I are going to connect offline in regards to my son. But so my older son has a condition called PANDAS or PANS, where basically it's a misfire in the immune system where, the body ends up attacking an area of the brain, causing inflammation. And what we found with his initial onset, that's still a really big issue that we have today, is that there's like a disconnect between like his brain and his stomach, where a lot of kids end up with food aversions and, not eating. And then even going as far as to say is that food is poison. I will not eat it anymore with this condition. But with us, we've experienced the complete opposite, where he doesn't ever really feel like he's full. And that was something that happened initially with his initial flare. And it's really been the only symptom that's been a constant throughout this entire journey for over 7 years now. And, since the pandemic and COVID and their school situation changing, my son used to be involved in sports like 6-7 days a week, and he's no longer doing that. So we've definitely seen the effects of the food and everything. And even though we try really hard with diet and everything in our home, cutting back sugar, not keeping a lot of junk in the house, which we'll get into another time, Sarah. I don't want to, make this too long and drawn out, but really like farm raised meat from local farms and fresh produce and all that stuff. We made that like a really hard focus. I haven't bought meat in a grocery store in like 6 years, you guys. I took it to like another level. But I'm really excited to learn more about this and see if maybe from your angle, because we've done stuff with the specialists and things, right? But you're offering something that's, one, a lot more affordable than what we've experienced in the past, and two, may give us insight from a different angle with maybe genetics that the specialist wasn't necessarily looking for. So that's kind of where my thought process is going. We saw a nutritionist at one point and she was like, "Oh, you're doing such a great job with how you're feeding him. Keep going. Maybe I'll see you on a talk show one day talking about this condition." And I was like, "Really?"
Wow, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. So if you want to dive in and kind of explain, a little bit more about your programs and stuff, Sarah, I'd love to kind of dive into more of that and whatever else you wanted to add today that you didn't mention last time.
Okay. Honestly, I don't know what I didn't mention last time, but I know there were some other questions, so that those will come out, I'm sure. But one thing I want to reiterate to anybody new in the audience, I am not a medical professional. I'm not a health provider of any sort. I work with health providers. I work with naturopaths and MDs and DOs and chiropractors and anybody who's interested in providing this extra level of care to their clients and patients. We do have, so I want to talk a little bit about what you were talking about, the satiation. That is, and that can be definitely tied to genetic functioning or not functioning. Not only the dopamine and serotonin, but satiation, it affects people with dementia and Alzheimer's as well. So anything that's dealing with brain, there are genes that flip our little satiation switch on and off. The ones that make us feel full or let us know it's like, hey, I can stop eating now. And it can be brought on by a multitude of things. A personal experience, which was very bizarre to me. It was the first time I'd ever experienced this with my dad, who was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And I think about 4 or 5 years ago, had him over for Thanksgiving dinner. And he wouldn't quit eating. I mean, it was like he was just literally shoveling food in as fast and everything. And he was like on thirds, and we're even saying like, "Dad, are you really not getting full?" He had no feelings of satiation whatsoever. And that night he had a heart attack, like within a couple hours of leaving our house. And it was like one of those weird, like you talk about, symptoms don't always present themselves the way you think they will. And sometimes, I mean, who would have thought that that was a symptom that he was going to have a heart attack? But the reason is he had clogged arteries. And so you're starving, which Alzheimer's and dementia and stuff, that's a whole other topic. But I've learned a lot about that. He had 4 blocked arteries. And when you have the lack of oxygen and blood to the brain's not functioning like it's supposed to. The gut is involved. The gut-brain connection is very real. So yeah, that I'm, and like I said, last week was the first I'd ever heard of pandas. I've done a little research then. I did speak to our science officer, or our chief science officer, Nurse Andy, and she's willing to jump on a call. She's very, very familiar with this. She was like, "Oh yeah, we can talk." I was like, "Awesome," because I don't know anything about this, but I would like to know more.
Wow.
So
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely be connecting with you, Stephanie, on that one. So we're going to definitely do that and see, what kind of information. Like I said, I didn't jump into it because I'm not a health professional. It was the first time I've heard of this. So I don't want to ever try, give anybody bad information or false information or anything like that. So
We have a question from Anthony Lewis. How does your program play part in DNA?
Actually, our program's based on DNA. And so what we do is we have a home or clinic use swab DNA test. It's just your cheeks. We're only looking at health markers. We don't look at anything to do with your genealogy, where you're from, why your eyes are blue or green or brown, nothing like that. It's only health issues. The samples, just to run through the process really quickly, the samples, everything's barcoded. So our company has your information and we have that, you're tagged to that barcode. The lab that gets the DNA samples, they are HIPAA compliant, CLIA certified, CAP certified. They don't know anything about you. It's just a number. And so that goes directly to the lab. They run the DNA panel. Once they've verified that everything is good, there were no issues, they destroy the DNA sample, they send us the results. We have proprietary software where we can take that genetic information and peer-reviewed nutritional information, researched information, and combine the two. And what we're looking for is genetic SNPs that you've inherited from either one or both parent, if any, and how those can affect your health. We supplement on 19 of them. And the reason we do that, we actually pull a panel of about 100 right now. We're in the process of verifying another 10 or validating. But you can't supplement on that many genes. You would literally be taking capsules or powder in your smoothie all day long. And it's just not realistic. And so we focus on what we call like the heavy hitters, the main ones, that cover 10 specific health areas. And again, the immune system, inflammation, heart health, mood, brain cognition. I'm going to forget them again. They're on the website. I can't remember. Alta Energy. Yeah, I don't remember them all. But anyway, and those are the ones that we supplement for to provide nutrients, vitamins, minerals, raws, all raw natural ingredients that have been shown to support a specific gene function. And it's not necessarily an individual gene, because genes don't play alone. They like to play together. They're teammates. And so you can have maybe when it comes to inflammation, you might have like 3 genetic variants and 4 that you didn't inherit, but you still need supplement for those 3. You need support for those. So, and we do supplement on that base. And then you have the option, because they are raws and all ingredients are third-party tested before they come to our facility, tested again in facility, tested again before they are shipped to you. Bring those in. You have your custom formula that comes with all of your test results. The reports that you get are very user-friendly. They do have some medical scientific jargon, but they are very self-explanatory. They include lifestyle recommendations for things you can and maybe shouldn't be doing or eating to help support that. As well as if you're working with a provider, maybe labs that you want to have them check periodically throughout your journey.
Thank you, Anthony, for your question. If you
Yes,
got any
thank
more,
you.
please feel free to ask another. Irene, I'm going to alter your question a little bit, but doesn't dementia have to do with diet as well? The lack of a proper diet, because my husband's mother has dementia, and when I fed her properly, she started getting better, but now she's in a retirement home. She's gone downhill fast. My question that I would like to add on this: what can your program do? Can your program help Irene's family dictate what type of diet her mother needs to be eating?
It doesn't give specific, like a dietary outline there, and like you can't do like, okay, you should be doing keto, you should be doing this, because those don't necessarily work for everybody across the board either. The whole premise here is that we're all individuals. Now, I do want to, so yeah, diet is key. There are basically 3 factors that affect how we function, and it's genetics, nutrition, and environment.
And we found out last week, not Twinkie Ding Dongs.
No, Twinkie Ding Dongs, well, they're in there, but they would have a negative impact.
That's what you think.
Okay, they might give you a dopamine hit, which is why you want to keep eating them.
But don't worry, I've only got like one more box. I've already eaten
One more box. Ah!
I've already eaten the other 4. So
Okay, we'll get back to the question. So yes, obviously nutrition does play a part, especially and sadly in a lot of institutions, and it's not just medical, it's schools and everything. A lot of prepackaged foods are used. Prepackaged foods have a lot of fillers. They have a lot of garbage. They lack a lot of nutrition. And so unfortunately, yes, that does play a role. Another thing, and the reason I'll get off on this for just a moment. My dad, what we discovered with his Alzheimer's diagnosis, we went to an Alzheimer's support group, and they were talking about how heart disease and Alzheimer's have a very strong connection. He also has heart disease. He now has a pacemaker. But what really got my attention and what really frustrated me is when he had his first heart attack and he got 3 stents put in, he woke up and he himself said it felt like somebody turned the lights on. And I'm thinking, well, that makes sense. You get oxygen and blood to the brain, it's going to work better. He had another heart attack 9 months later and got 2 more stents, and it got even better. And so what frustrated me is and because of my experience, anytime I come across somebody who's been diagnosed, has a family member who's been diagnosed with dementia or Alzheimer's, I always say, have you had them check their arteries? Because it's heart disease and brain. And it's like, why are they not checking this? Why are they not, when they have heart disease or when they are seeing these issues of dementia and stuff, why are they not checking their arteries? Do we have a situation? Do we have something we can do like immediately that's going to help this? So that's my 2 cents worth on that whole topic. But yes, nutrition, environment is everything around us. It's the air we're breathing. It's the water we're drinking. It's our exposure to pollutants. And I would go so far as to say it's our exposure to not just toxic ingredients, but toxic people.
I would like to. I'm going to ask Patrick for a question from you. But my question, when it comes to stuff that Patrick does, is what can your program teach his kids? And Patrick, do you have anything else to add to that?
No, I'll let that one ride. And actually, because that's a question.
So I have to preface this and say how do I say this? Technically, we work with adults only, 18 and older. Um, the genetic testing itself provides a lot of information that can help people who have predispositions to various issues, health issues, so that they are aware and they can tell, they would know which like types of foods that they should be focusing on, which things they should avoid. I mean, in general, the human population should avoid prepackaged foods. That's kind of a given, but that's not always possible. And so there's, obviously things you want to look for. But fresh, raw is always best. Stephanie, I love what you're doing. So yeah, the information included does it's a lot of health, just regular health stuff. So even if you aren't doing the custom supplement that you can, the solution that we have for this, you will still benefit from the tests because of all the information in there, because it does give types of foods. It tells you exactly, if you have a genetic variant, what's in the formula, your custom formula that would support that and why. And so it gives you those lists of foods, whether it's, the pomegranate or the broccoli or pineapple. I mean, there's so many to list. I can't even possibly sit here and list them all. But it explains what those are and why they work to help support that genetic function. I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, it does. Because I understand when it comes to like, the kids and like just the particular field that you're in,
Mm.
and stuff like that. It's one of those things where it's just like education could be one of the bigger things that
And awareness.
I
Yeah.
I could do for my aunt and awareness of what it is. And then like for me, one of the things that I would like to do is, man, have you talk to my mom, and my father. My mom has microvascular ischemic disease, and it's a brain condition that
Mm.
affects older people, and untreated, it can lead to dementia, stroke, difficulty walking,
Hmm.
and it is. I've seen right now, you know, how much it affects her, you know, um, and it's really hard to watch, I guess. And
Mm-hmm.
she's like, she's in good spirits and stuff like that, but it's just like, you know, it's maybe one of those things that can, I was diabetic before,
Mm-hmm.
and diet changed everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And put me back to being pre-diabetic. So I still deal with those issues, but it's not like the point where I have um, neuropathy and different things like that. And a lot of it was just the mindset of what it is that you're putting into your body directly, like, controls like how all the different systems work.
Mm-hmm.
And on that genetic level, like that right there is just, it's just the coolest thing to me, that you can actually go in and look at your genes and be able to have an even more in-depth uh, view
Mm-hmm.
of how to let your body be more efficient.
Right.
Like, that's not something that was even a thing you could even think about doing, what, 10 years ago?
Right. Right.
I think it's like 10 years ago, you couldn't even think of doing something like that. And like now we're at an age where, like, you know, I really want to look into it for myself also. Just, you know, if when I get married and if I have kids and different things like that, I want to live as long as possible and as healthy as possible.
Right.
And if I can do things to, because if my mom has that, then I- that might be something in my genetic markers, that could affect me. And if I have a jump start on it now, I mean, like, that's what I would really like to do. I don't want to go through what she's going through,
You
you
brought up
know.
a really good point. People have a tendency to assume a lot about families. I know I did until this came along. I just assumed that I was going to end up, if I wasn't incredibly careful, I was going to end up with diabetes. My dad is on the verge of full kidney failure. I was going to end up with heart disease. It's on both sides of my family. I was going to end up with some form of cancer because I think we covered all of them in my mom's side.
Yeah.
And then when the dementia and the Alzheimer's hit, it was like, are you kidding me? And so for me, it was really eye-opening to get this, because what the genetic testing, again, it's not saying you will have this issue or you won't, but it's saying, genetically speaking, this is where you are predisposed to have issues and this is where you aren't. And it's really eye-opening, the information you get, because you can't assume just because somebody did have something in your family, you're going to get it, or because somebody didn't, that you couldn't. Right? I mean, so there are things that are passed on, and it may have been an uncle or somebody that had something you'd never even thought of. And it's like that gene, didn't show up in somebody else, but guess what? You got it, or vice versa. And that's why it's great information. It's educating yourself. It's making yourself aware. It's helping you, and even providers is why they're using it. It helps them focus on, okay, what's the potential underlying factor here? What could be the root of this problem? And it also can alert you to things that maybe you aren't showing any predisposition, you aren't showing any outward signs of, but you may be genetically predisposed. So it's like, okay, well, let's just make sure let's do what we can to make sure that doesn't become a problem. Mm-hmm. And the supplement that we have is, we consider it foundational nutrition. This is hitting those core root issues. Again, it's not the be all end all. There's no silver bullet. There is no magic wand. I really hate to burst people's bubbles, because our society wants everything. They want it fixed now. And if they don't have an immediate reaction or immediate fix, it's like, oh, then it's not any good. It's like, you don't understand how the human body works. Our body doesn't work that way. It's an amazing, incredible machine, but it doesn't work that way.
We're going to be rolling over a couple of minutes, but Mr. Z's got to be leaving us. So Z, I want to give you the last word, your last question or anything before you have to leave.
I appreciate that, and I hate to cut you off like this, but no questions, but just comments. Sarah, I think it's great that you're letting people know that you're not a medical professional, but you are coming across as an educational resource, that we all have the same genes, but different functions. And the fact that people can reach out to you as an expert is very, very helpful, especially if someone has a question, you can direct them to one of your lab experts. And I think it's great that you're bringing awareness to something that most people don't often think about, such as Alzheimer's. And I'm very sorry to hear about your father and what had happened to him on Thanksgiving. And just people who aren't aware of Alzheimer's, I think it's great that you're bringing it up, and whether it's dementia and how our diet affects the human mind and clogged arteries. No one wants to have that. But the fact that you're able to unzip those genes in a very healthy manner without having to use injections or surgery or anything that's invasive, kudos to you for bringing mental health awareness in mind with the right amount of resources that you provide. No questions so far. But the big concern is, I'm glad that it's integrated with the human DNA and it's reputable by your organization. And the fact that we can have that individual be on the call in the near future would be very beneficial. I mean, I have a lot of things to say, but I do want to say it was very nice to meet you, Sarah. And I think it's great that you're able to provide those answer those tough questions in a very easy manner. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you being
welcome.
here, and thank you for your comments.
Appreciate it.
And
thank you.
remember, everyone, you can get a hold of Mr. Z and get one of the best websites being created at zworldwebs.com, zworldwebs.com. And real quick, before Z takes off, he is helping me, and we're working very hard. And it is up and running, the Footprints Forward page on communitypayitforward.us /footprints forward. It is up. You're going to be able to watch all episodes that we've ever done, including both episodes now with Sarah. So just go, and you can always look there. There's going to be, we're working hard to put in something in there, a database, to where anything that you've heard that you think could help someone, you're going to be able to get a hold of them right away. So communitypayitforward.us /footprints forward. So Z, thank you very much. And we're going to be sticking around for about an additional 10-15 minutes. Sarah, we got another question in here from Anthony Lewis. We've actually got two of them. One is, what are your thoughts on cravings to type of food? And the second one is, what are your thoughts on detox drinks?
The first one I can answer quite easily, actually, because when I first started taking my custom supplement back in January of 2019, a lack of cravings was one of the first things that I noticed. And before I got on the first call last week, I reached out to our science advisor and was talking about the COMT gene, and I brought that up. I said, in my mind, it seems like, because our bodies, I mean, our fuel is nutrition. That's our fuel, really. I mean, we have water and air, but I mean, our fuel is nutrition. So it because of my experience and some of what I was seeing with other people, it's like, it seems to me that if you're not getting the nutrition your body needs, it can't just, spit out a little printout and say, hey, I need you to eat more vitamin this, or I need you to eat more bananas, or I need you to eat. It can't tell us that. And so we crave things, I believe, and she basically kind of supported some of that too, is that it's our cravings are our body's way of saying, I need something that I'm not getting. We just don't know what it is. And so then we start experimenting, and it's like, okay, well, maybe I'll eat that, or maybe I'll eat that, or I'll do this, or I'll take that. And we're just trying to feed that without knowing what that is. And like I said, that was when I stopped having cravings. I was just like, wait a minute, what the heck?
Yeah.
And that was all I had done. I hadn't gone on any special diet. I hadn't done anything other than I started taking my custom formula that is formulated specific to my genetics. That's all I did. I had numerous other benefits that I started noticing and that have continued to this day. It literally just keeps getting better. But that was one that really triggered that in me. I have dealt with a lot of alcoholics and drugs, people who are addicted to drugs in the past, on several personal levels. And it really made my brain start clicking. And it's like, wait a minute. That would really explain a lot. If you're not getting something, your body's just like, feed me, but you don't know what to feed it. And so that's where people start experimenting, and they just start using things. So the second one about the detox drinks, I think that there are, and this is a personal, again, I'm not a health coach, I'm not a provider. My personal experience, I think it really helps to first know if detoxing is something you are predisposed to have an issue with, because that is a big part of our panel. That is one of the panels. And I only recently, it was crazy. I was listening to a call with our science officer, with Nurse Sandy, and she was talking about the detox report. And I hadn't really honestly given it a whole lot of thought in the past. I was more focused on inflammation and some of those other ones. And as she's talking, and I'm like going, I thought, I should pull that out. And I pulled out my detox report, and I have a genetic SNP on 6 of the 7 that we test for in that panel. And then she was talking about what our body does with toxins. Like when our body has toxins, it will basically, and this is how it ties to weight management, it basically encapsulates the toxin in a fat cell. It like wraps it in a little shell of fat until it can detox it. Well, if your body is predisposed to having issues with detoxing, you don't do that. You hold on to that. So you're holding on to the toxin, which encapsulated in fat. And I'm like, gee, thanks. But it was like another light bulb went off for me. And I've been doing this a while. But it's just, you just keep learning more. And so I looked at that and I thought, I know I've been on my formula, and then, like I said, this is foundational, not the be all and end all. So I did do some research, and my sister, who, for those of you who were here last week, she was the one that introduced me to this. She's a nurse with a vast array of experience. And we started looking at different things for detoxing, and I personally use a micronized zeolite, which helps detox heavy metals. I don't use it all the time. I mean, other than the air we're breathing, we get heavy metals that way. But I know that our water we have some of the best water in the country actually here. Yay. So I don't think that it's something I need to do all the time, but I do it on occasion just to kind of like make sure that I'm not holding on to anything, that I'm helping my body get rid of anything that it might be hanging on to. But knowing that I have those detox predispositions was key for me. I never really worried about detoxing before until I realized that, wait a minute, I'm pretty strongly predisposed to having that issue. And looking at my body and stuff growing up and how my body reacts to stuff, I'm like, wow, that really makes a lot of sense.
Stephanie, did you have another question that you wanted to jump in on?
Not a question, but just a comment that I love that there's a more natural and individualized approach to this. I feel like, and this is just me saying this is it's not coming from anybody else on the panel, but I feel like in a lot of cases, you go to the doctor, and just like what you were mentioning earlier with the stents and stuff, doctors get paid for those surgeries. You know, this is a business. Keeping people healthy with a more natural approach and nutrition and stuff isn't really emphasized, at least through my experiences. And I'm just going to say it. Big Pharma wants people sick so they can make money, you know, and we've been on a hell of a journey, and I'm really excited about your approach. And I think that, you know, you've been doing this 5 years. I could see you helping a lot of people and educating a lot of people through this. So I think a lot of people don't take that stance or take that approach at all. And they're driving through the fast food because it's easy, right? You know, the way we're feeding our kids, it's not easy. It's not an easy way to do it, but I'll tell you, I've seen a heck of a difference with, and we were never the fast food family, so I can't even compare it to that, but kind of taking it to another level. And I really think from the inside out, there is such a huge connection with your gut, your microbiome, all of that stuff. Well, Zach knows we're on this journey to be growing our own food soon. And it's been a process for, you know, over 12 years. We've had this goal, and finally we'll be growing our own food and hopefully be able to help and give back to other people too that are trying to do the same thing for their families. But just thank you, Sarah, for the education, for sharing, for spreading the awareness. And I'm excited to learn more on an individualized level with you. And even though you don't treat kids, I appreciate you taking a look at everything for us.
Absolutely. I do want to make one comment because I think it's very important. I'm not, I think I said it last week, I'm not against medicine, and I don't think anybody is. I think it has a place. But something that people need to be aware of is doctors are not taught nutrition. It is not part of their medical training. They are taught to treat and fix and try to cure, but they're not taught nutrition. They're not taught preventative, unless they decide individually to seek out that field. And so even a lot of people that have taken the tests and gotten their results, and they take them to their regular doctor, and the doctor's like, huh, okay, interesting. They don't know what to do with it. And that's why we work so much. It seems like we are a much better fit when we're working with the naturopath doctors, the functional nutritionist, the nutritionist, the health coaches, people that are more open to trying to prevent as opposed to just treat. So thank you. Thank you for saying that. And thank you for your comments. Yeah, I will be in touch.
Well, Sarah, my last question for you is quite simple, and I think it's just going to tie everything together. Tell me what Unzip Those Genes can do for your mental health.
It can highlight whether you are genetically predisposed to having mood issues. whether it's dealing with your dopamine or your serotonin receptors, whether it's your COMT, which affects and impacts how you perceive the world around you and how you react to it, how you respond. The information is eye-opening. It's even though I've been doing this for almost 5 years, that is the newest part of information I was exposed to, and it's just like, wow, this really explains a lot. And I'm 60 years old now. I've kind of dealt with some stuff, and I've learned how to temper some of my own gut reactions, so to speak. But having that information early on and understanding what we're predisposed to, I wish I'd had it 20, 30 years ago. I wish it had been available. It's just mind-blowing how much of a difference I believe it would have made.
Well,
but I'm grateful to have it now.
Well, I am really, really glad that we got to get to know you a lot better for the last 2 weeks. I want to thank you so very much for giving up, the 2 hours to come on and explain what you're about, what you're helping to build, and how you can help people. I think it's one more reason, or one more way that somebody can be helped
Mm-hmm.
in a different way, in which, yeah, with what you said, I understand that we give medications a pretty hard time on here. There's never going to be a medication that's going to come on here and sit there and feel better about itself when it leaves. But there's definitely a place for it. I do agree with you, but I really do appreciate you coming on and expressing what you guys can do, and what you guys are looking for. Sarah, how do people reach out to you?
They can find me at unzipthosegenes.com, my website. You can also reach out to me via email at Sarah with an H at unzipthosegenes.com.
And you can always get onto her Calendly right here. Let's unzip those genes, discovery call. All of those are also in the comments, so you can go back through in the comments and you can get the links to it. So
absolutely,
Sarah,
always for a Zoom or a phone call that way.
Yeah, and you know what? If you have any further questions, please just go in there and let her know that what you saw her on this show. You piqued your interest and you'd like to learn a little bit more. Anthony's back and he says, thanks for the information. Very enlightening. And we've also, we had Irene say thank you very much as well. So we also want to thank Anthony and Irene for participating today. Now we're coming towards the end of the show. Let's just start with you, Patrick. What are you going to take away from all this conversation?
For me, it's just the educational aspect, and it's just another tool to be able to put into the community's hands for the overall just health aspect of things, and another option for um, just specifically even my family to be able to overcome some of the things that we're dealing with health wise. And so for me, that's just like it's a huge, huge deal because I'll be honest, I had with VA, I had one doctor that almost killed me by over medicating me, and my kidneys and everything shut down, and I almost died. Um, um, Back in like 2012, 13, around that area. And then I had another doctor that had a more holistic nutritional approach, and it saved my life. So, um, so for you guys watching this thing, I would really say, like, if you have the opportunity and you can put away the extra money or work with these people to figure out just some more things about yourself, be proactive, and That's a lot of times what happens. We're not proactive. We hear the information, we don't act on it, and that stems out to so many different things in our lives. But especially for health, that would be a wise thing to do.
Well, thank you, Patrick. I appreciate it. You keep up the good work as well. You know, I agree with everything that you're saying, and you know, look, this is just there's nothing here heard that's going to hurt anybody with any of this. So, Stephanie, any last words from you?
Just thank you for the educational approach and for the affordable approach to make it individualized. You know, really, truly, we've been on a hell of a road, and it's nice that this is more approachable. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, you're good.
Hey, that's actually why I had to disappear halfway into the. But mine was I had to get my dogs in here. They were kicking dirt into my air conditioner, and I'm sitting here going, puff. So,
we had a UPS. We had an evil truck drive by, so you know the
UPS. Footprints Forward, the home of a lot of funny noises. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, because I just realized I didn't mention it this week because Dennis asked it last week. For anybody who's interested, the test with the 11 reports, the DNA panel, everything, and the custom formula that shows what your solution would have in it is $297. And then the monthly, if you do go with the custom supplement that is we custom compound and deliver to you, it's $149, and that's out the door.
No. Well, fantastic. Sarah, again, I want to thank you so very much for everything you do. Let's keep in contact, and anything that you guys have that's coming out that you would like to get it across, you always have an invitation to come and join us.
Thank you.
Even if you want to come on every once in a while as a part of the panel, we'd love to have you on here. Just to put your influence and importance towards people, because you know the truth is that nobody gets treated, nobody heals the same way. We need to make sure that we're putting everything out there, everything in front of people. Mm-hmm. Again, this isn't about us approving it or denying it. This is about education, getting it in front of people, because if people don't look, you don't know what you don't know. That's just simply it. So we want to thank everyone for joining us again, and hello, dear. And once again, I would just like people to please visit communitypayitforward/footprints forward. If there's something in this episode that you think is going to affect somebody in a positive way, please share this link with them. They can go back and they can watch from May 1st, May Day. We have a problem when we kick this show off to today's show. And if you have anybody who wants to be involved, anybody who has anything to offer, there's a QR code that you can scan. You can come on this show. You can set yourself up to share your story with people. Look, there's something in your story that if you share with people, it's going to be a life-saving event. Let's make sure that we get your story out there. Let's make sure that you share with people, share with everybody your story. My name is Zach Clayton, for Mr. Z, who unfortunately had to leave us, for Stephanie Simoes, the goddess of the grape, from Patrick Myers, and from Sarah Cuoco. I want to thank you all very much. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. And please stay inside if you can. Stay out of this heat. This heat, once again, it's not going to discriminate. It doesn't give a damn who you are. It's going to hurt you if it gets to you. So please take care of yourself, and let's take care of others. You've been watching Footprints Forward every week at the same time, 11 o'clock. Come and join us on most of these stations, hopefully all of them. Thank you very much.